Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a complete disaster backyard transformation. You know, if you watch my channel, we have done a ton of work inside of our home and we've had absolutely no time left for outside of our home, and so our yard is a mess. Our one tiny shed was a mess. There was way too much stuff. It was dirty and gross. So we're tackling all of it. Today's video is so kindly sponsored by Patio Well, and we're building one of their 10 by 10 metal sheds to really increase our storage space and help us get our backyard under control. So this is where we started. Like I said, we had one shed in our backyard and it was absolutely jam-packed full of stuff. We don't have a garage or any other type of storage at our home for this type of thing, so it was completely overflowing with stuff and we had to get it under control. So this is where we decided to put our new Patio Well 10 by 10 metal shed out in the back corner of our yard. The first thing that my husband did was build a base for it, so that's what you're seeing here, and then we'll get into the shed build. We got our 10 by 10 metal shed from Patio Well. Patio Well sells small sheds, large-sized metal sheds, small deck boxes, and large deck boxes for your outdoor storage needs. Their slogan is to simplify your life and store your patio. They also have new plastic sheds that are coming in December, so if you'd prefer that, I would check out their website and join their email list so you'll be the first to know. My husband and I have never built a shed before. This was entirely new territory for us, and we were definitely a little apprehensive, but we really found building this Patio Well shed to be so easy. Patio Well sends over very clear and easy to follow directions, but if you are struggling, there are actually QR codes that are throughout the instruction manual, and when you scan those, they bring you directly to a video explaining and demonstrating the step. And we found this so helpful, and it helped to just prevent us from making any mistakes along the way. We are using this shed to store all of our outdoor essentials like tools we need for outside, gardening tools, and lawn equipment, and this frees up the older shed to store our kids' things like plastic pools and outdoor toys. We don't have a garage and it's not really sensible to store a lot of these items in our basement, so adding the second shed was essential for us. Our backyard and deck has looked so messy and unkempt due to the lack of storage space, and our previous shed was basically inaccessible because there wasn't enough space for everything. So this Patio Well shed is crucial for us. We're so happy with it. It was easy to put together. It will fit everything we need and then some, and truly simplify our lives. You will see the before and after at the end of the video of our storage situation and how this Patio Well shed made it possible, so stay tuned for that. Patio Well has offered my audience an exclusive 15% off discount code CE15. I'll display that on the screen right here as well as in the description box, so be sure to take advantage of that discount code, and I just want to say a huge thank you to Patio Well for sponsoring this week's video. This took us a couple of days to build just because we had our kids with us, but I'm going to use the magic of editing to show you the final result. Here's our new Patio Well shed. We're so excited to have this, and let's get into decluttering. So the first thing that I did to start decluttering our shed was to take every single thing out of it, which was a huge project. You can see there was so much stuff, and everything that we do is always done with our kids around. We don't have like a village of people who are able to watch them for us, so the only time we ever have to do projects like this is on the weekends when my husband is off work and we have our children. So you'll see the baby running all around, and then sometimes Carson pops in as well. But it's a lot harder to try and do this stuff with kids, so you can only imagine how stressful this whole experience was. But this is something that we've been putting off for such a long time and needed to be done so desperately. Especially when you're decluttering a space like this that is just jam-packed full of stuff, it's really important to take every single thing out of the space so you can see what you have, and also so you can clean it out, because this shed was disgusting. It doesn't look bad on camera, but I will show you some close-ups in a couple of minutes once it's emptied out. It was gross in there. It was full of bugs, and it was just really needing to be cleaned. So not only did we want to declutter a lot of this stuff and also move a bunch of things over to the new shed, but we really wanted to clean this out. I am not really an outdoor type of girl. I don't love bugs and getting dirty and all the things that go along with going outside. So going into this shed was always a little bit frightening for me because I wasn't sure what was lurking around in here, if there were like rodents or, chipmunks, insects, big spiders. I don't want to see any of that. So it was especially important for me that if I'm going to be using the shed going forward, that it was clean enough that I felt comfortable going in there and I could see what was in there instead of just stepping into the unknown. Forever be in this moment, in this moment. I know that it looks like we had so much stuff in the shed and a lot of it was ours, but I do want to say that the majority of the chemicals and things like that, and actually a lot of gardening tools, were left behind by the previous owner. We have been in this house since July of 2021 and we've never gone through any of the things that the previous owner left behind. She was an avid gardener, but I honestly don't think that all that stuff was just hers. I want to say that maybe some of it even belonged to the owner before her. So I feel like all this stuff in the shed has been in there forever. It was covered in spiders, hence why I was wearing gloves. It was not a very pleasant experience going through everything, but we did eventually get everything emptied out of the shed. And this is what we were working with. So you can see the walls were super dirty, especially on the shelves. They were covered in, I don't even honestly know what, but they were very, very dirty. So I knew that we were going to need to break out the power washer so that we could clean all of this off. Forever be in this moment, in this moment. Forever be, forever be. And this is most everything that came out of the shed that we needed to go through. My husband did take some things already over to his new shed, but everything else is right here. There was so much stuff. I was completely overwhelmed. The next thing that my husband did was take down all of his things that he had hung up himself. He wanted to move those over into his new shed. And then once he's all done with that, we are going to start putting some things away into the new shed, because I find that when I'm doing a huge decluttering project and I feel really overwhelmed, sometimes the easiest way for me to go through everything is to start putting things back first, because usually the things you grab first are the things that are most important that you definitely want to keep, and then whatever ends up being left behind at the end are usually the things that you don't really need. And I feel like it all kind of declutters itself in a way. Forever be, in this moment, in this moment. Forever be, forever be. Okay, so now, like I said, we're putting some things away into the new shed. So my husband moved his shelves over into his new shed. He's going to add some more shelves in a little bit and you'll see that. But we put those in there, and then we're hanging up some fishing rod holders. And to do this, he was just using like a really heavy duty Scotch tape. I think it holds like 30 pounds per inch or something like that. So instead of drilling into the metal shed, this was just an easier way to hang all of his fishing rods and get them up off the floor. I headed inside to get the baby down for his nap, and while I was in there, Jason went through his things and he started to declutter them. So a lot of those things in that bucket were left behind from the previous owner, and then everything else in the wheelbarrow was stuff that he is planning to put into the shed. So he kind of separated everything out to make it a little bit easier for us. Now we're just doing a little bit more hanging, and then we will get into putting things onto the shelves. Now, I wasn't doing this with really too much rhyme or reason or organization to it. I was just putting things that I felt like went together on the shelves, but my husband, like I said, is going to add another shelving unit in just a few minutes and you'll see that. And then he has some bins that he used to organize his things. So it ends up being a lot more organized, but we needed to get everything out of that wheelbarrow. Now, moving back to the clutter. So, at this point, a lot of these things were things that we were going to be getting rid of. Now, these chemicals, it's a very complicated situation because, like I said, the former owner of our home left all those behind, and we're not planning to ever use them. And they've been sitting in our shed for multiple years now and taking up space. And I personally don't love having chemicals like that laying around in our shed in the backyard. It just feels dangerous and we don't need them. So we have put them all together kind of in like a big bin, and it's outside. And we are trying to figure out how to properly dispose of those things. There is like different types of torch fuel, and there's a bunch of different weed killers and things related to gardening, and there's bug sprays and just all kinds of different stuff. And I have no idea how to properly dispose of those things. So if you guys have any idea how I would go about doing that, I obviously want to do the thing that is best for the environment and for safety of animals and everything else. So please let me know in the comments how you would go about getting rid of these things. We're planning to contact our town's recycling center and find out if there's anything they can do for us, but in the meantime, they are just sitting in a big bin outside, and I do not like it. So at this point, I was trying to just clear off our patio area so I could get ready to power wash. So that's what I'm doing here, just kind of moving things around and figuring out what else needs to go into the new shed, and then if there's anything else that we can declutter. This side of our shed was such a mess. There's just random buckets with water in them, random toys, little rakes, a bicycle, the old lawnmower that doesn't work. That brush right there was also broken. So I wanted to go through all of that, and then I'm also just sweeping off all of these leaves. I really should have used the leaf blower for this, but at that point my husband was using it, but I will take it from him in a second so I can properly leaf blow all of this. But those pine needles, I swear, they were reproducing by the minute. Every time I thought that I got them all, so many more would appear. It's crazy. I feel like pine needles are absolutely everywhere in our backyard, and it's super annoying. And now we are power washing the shed. I was getting absolutely soaked doing this, doing it in like an enclosed space like this. The water was just spraying all over me. So I actually had pictures planned for later that night that I had to take with a friend. So at one point I had my husband like step in and take over for me because it was literally just raining down water on me. But I did try to do as much of it as I could because I do enjoy power washing. I find it fun and like satisfying, but I really didn't feel like getting absolutely soaked. Like I said, I'm just not really an outdoorsy type of girl, so I'm not a big fan of getting dirty and wet and bugs and all the things that go along with being outside. But I think next summer is going to be the year of fixing up our outdoor spaces. Like I said, we've done so much work inside that our outside has been super neglected, and I would love to get it all looking really pretty next spring and next summer. This summer was also kind of a wash, literally, because it rained like every single day for pretty much our entire summer. We had terrible weather, so it really wouldn't have mattered what I did outside this year, but hopefully next summer we have better weather and we can get our yard looking really nice and pretty and cleaned up. At this point, I knew that I needed to let everything dry before we could continue. So I'm just power washing off the baby's pool so I can let that dry as well. I'm going to put that in the shed. We left it open so that the air flow would get in and dry everything off, but we were kind of at a standstill because we just needed to let this shed dry before we could move on to doing anything else in there. So this is a few days later. My husband had got his shelving in, so he's going to be building that really quickly. I was inside making spaghetti and meatballs for the family, so I left my camera out there for him while he was building his shelving unit. And I just thought this was so funny because my husband is not really a social media person. He does my YouTube videos with me when he has to, but it's not like his favorite thing in the world. But I thought it was funny because at one point the camera actually shut off and he went over and he turned it back on to make sure that he got everything that I wanted. And also just watching him doing this, like not building the shelf, but once he starts organizing, he's not really an organizer by nature. And obviously that's like what I do over here on YouTube. And so something about watching him trying to organize, I was just wondering the whole time, like, what was his methodology? What was going through his head as he was putting things away? Did he have like a reason for where he was putting things? Like, I almost thought about asking him to do the voiceover for this section of the video because I would have loved to hear his thoughts. But anyway, he is organizing his shed a little bit. You could see everything was just kind of thrown in there. So it was really good that he got this shelf and he was able to do this because it ends up looking so much better. We have a basement, but we do not have a garage. And I feel like the things that you store in a garage versus a basement are very different. Like the things that you need for outside, you don't really want to have to go down in your basement to go grab them every single time you need them. So it's imperative that we had a lot of storage space. So this 10 by 10 metal shed has made a huge difference for us because now we can use this one for all of his outdoor things, some of his tools, all that type of stuff. But then the other shed we can use to store all of like the kids' toys over the winter, and we have somewhere to put the sidewalk chalk and the basketballs and all the random things like that. We desperately needed this additional storage, so we're super grateful to have it. So here we are on another different day, and it was time for me to clean up our deck. It was looking like a mess. If you guys watch my channel, sometimes when I'm filming and I'm facing the sliding doors out the kitchen, you can see that our deck is pretty much always a mess. I really do not like looking at it, so I was so excited that I finally had an opportunity to go out there and clean it up, and I really wanted to just prep everything for the cold season that we have coming. My kids have covered this water table in random toys. My older son had a bunch of like fish and stuff that he used to play with outside in there, and then the baby had left a bunch of his cars and things. So a lot of it did need to get tossed because it was not good anymore just from being outside in the rain constantly and sitting in just like a pool of water. So I went through all of it and I brought some inside so that I could try and clean them, but I did end up having to toss quite a bit of it. So I grabbed a trash bag from inside that I could fill up with any trash that I found while I was cleaning off the deck and just all the outside areas. We have a super nice oversized deck, and it definitely needs to be probably sanded and refinished, restained, because it has certainly seen better days. Again, like I've said, we've had horrible weather for the last year. So, I mean, especially over the summer, it just poured constantly. So I feel like everything is damaged. I'm glad that we didn't invest in any furniture this year because it would have probably been destroyed outside. But like I said, we have a nice, beautiful, oversized deck. So hopefully next summer we can get some real furniture. We've never had like real nice outdoor furniture to sit and relax in. And I would love for this space to just be stepped up a little bit. I'd love to get maybe some hanging lights or something just to add some ambiance, but I would likely need to do a multi-part series in order to completely transform our backyard. So if that is something that you guys would be interested in, I would love to know so I can plan that for next spring or next summer. Typically, all of my videos are filmed inside and they're about homemaking, but I feel like this kind of falls under that category. So if you want to see a complete backyard transformation, I have flower beds that need to be completely ripped out and redone. We have to remulch. We need to probably refinish our deck. We have painting that you guys can see on the side of the house that needs to be done. We just have so much work So if you would like to see that, please let me know, because that is an easy way to motivate me to actually get our backyard under control. And now it is time to do some more power washing, which I find to be super satisfying. Obviously, I really do enjoy power washing, but I don't enjoy the fact that I get absolutely soaked while I'm doing it. And I was wearing the wrong shoes for this. So I should probably get some rain boots for the next time that I plan on power washing. This right here is a blow up dinosaur sprinkler. It's an inflatable, and I'm honestly not sure if it's salvageable. It's been outside for a long time, probably over a year and a half, something like that. We had bought it for one of Carson's birthday parties and loved it, and then it just got left outside. It was forgotten, and I tried to power wash it, but I'm honestly not sure if it's moldy or what it is, but I just could not get it fully clean. So you guys will have to let me know, does inflatable material like this mold? Is that what it is? Or could it be just super dirty and the power washer just wasn't able to get it all? My oldest son was using these coolers over the summer as pretend fish tanks. So he was filling them up with like dirt and water and toy fish and playing in them. So they were gross and desperately needed to be power washed. They're both broken as well. So we may have to get some new ones next year, but I figured I would clean them off and put them away. And I wanted to ask you guys, is this the type of thing that you're supposed to leave open when you're storing it so that it doesn't get gross inside, kind of like a refrigerator? If you unplug it, you're supposed to leave it cracked, I believe. Don't quote me, but I think that's the way it works. I need some help because, again, I'm not an outdoorsy type of girl. I don't know these things. I don't know anything about storing things in sheds and how to protect things, so I need all the insight that I can get on that type of stuff. I started power washing a portion of the patio here, and I could not believe the difference. Look at this. It's crazy. I didn't have the time to power wash my entire patio, and also it's probably just going to get destroyed this winter if I do it now. So I'll wait until the spring, but look at the difference. It's crazy. The next thing that I wanted to do was go through our sandbox. It was nasty in there. All these toys were broken, every single one of them. It was time to just say goodbye to them, and we'll get some new toys for our sandbox next year. But I wanted to close this up for the season. My kids aren't playing in it right now, and it's just looking really dirty. It's getting full of leaves. So I raked it out, got all the leaves out. You'll see me grab my shovel in a second. And yes, I was just picking up the sand. I was bringing it over my fence and throwing it into the woods. And if that's not what you're supposed to do with sand, I don't know, but that's just what I happen to be doing with it. But yeah, I wanted to get this closed up for the season, so I cleaned it out, raked it out, and then I cover it. But I don't think this cover is good enough. It's definitely seen better days, so I may need to cover it up with some tarp or something for the winter. I wanted to remind you guys one more time of where we started. So here's the outside of our shed. Here is the inside of our shed, completely full of stuff. You couldn't even walk in there. Trying to get anything was pretty much impossible. It was just a complete disaster. And then I'm going to share with you the super satisfying after, looking so much better. There is way less stuff in here. Obviously we have a bunch of things in my husband's shed, but you guys saw that it was not out of control or anything like that. So we are feeling so much better about our storage situation going forward. I love that we have this extra shed over here that I can put all of the odds and ends and the kids' things. And then my husband's shed, he has plenty of room in there for all of his things. Now our deck is cleaned off for the season ahead. Next year, hopefully we can refinish it. Again, you guys will have to let me know if you're interested in seeing like a full backyard transformation in the spring. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and come back again next week for another video.